One solution to the national lumber shortage is sitting right in our own backyards.
Why bring lumber in from outside of Iowa when we're already growing trees in our communities?
Plus, a local brewery uses climate funds to capture CO2 to carbonate its own beer. And lastly, learn about the huge impact affordable housing can have on families.
I went from being in a 2-bedroom apartment, paying more actually than what I pay now for a full home.
And it all starts right now on this edition of Iowa City in Focus. When you think of lumber, you most likely imagine the store you buy it from, not where it's grown. But there's a movement to change that way of thinking and get more people to use wood that's grown right here in our own backyards.
Urban lumber is wood that's milled out of trees that have grown in our communities.
Using local resources to create a local product that supports our local economy. That's the goal of urban lumber.
So we're not really trying to grow them for lumber, but they are a wood resource, and at the end of their life, why not use that wood for another purpose?
When alive and well, trees provide us with so many benefits. Clean air, energy conservation, nourishing wildlife, adding beauty to our community, just to name a few. But when they reach the end of their life,
Storm-damaged trees or insects and diseases have killed them, or development.
We don't often think about the value those trees still hold.
Many people, they have their tree taken down by a tree service, and they just want out of there as fast as they can. They don't really care or whatever, but why not repurpose it? And that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Paul has been in the wood business for nearly 30 years.
I've seen a lot of sawdust.
And he still gets excited talking about local lumber.
There's so many good hardwoods in this area. You know, we've got fantastic walnut, white oak. You can get a lot of great things out of it. Just reach out a little bit, and there's many people like myself in the area that can transform it into a good usable project.
Entire trees are often cut up and hauled to the landfill, where they are ground up into wood chips.
We're always going to have the small, woody, brushy stuff from our yards. We've also seen a big increase in land clearing operations where there's big logs coming in or big chunks of wood that definitely have a higher and better use than just chipping them into wood chips, which in some cases we can't even give away if we have a large stockpile like we do now.
The Iowa City Landfill and Recycling Center gives away the wood chips for free, but often the supply outweighs the demand. And all of those different steps add up when it comes to reducing our carbon footprint.
We're actually grinding it twice, and it has to be pulled out here and then turned around and hauled back to town. So if you look at just the fuel used in that process, it's pretty significant. So actually utilizing the wood rather than just having it made into wood chips is going to be far better for the environment.
When there's an opportunity to make lumber out of a tree, let's mill it into lumber, because there's lots of parts of the tree that can be used for firewood or chipped up into mulch. But with wood taking so long to be formed, like decades or possibly hundreds of years, let's not waste that natural resource and treat it as waste. Let's use it when that opportunity is available.
Every tree is different, and not all of it will be usable as lumber.
So there's a lot of trees that they're just firewood because they're gnarly and split up and things like that. So that's okay, but I'd say 70% of them, you can get some great lumber out of it. So just take a little time to think about it before you chop it off.
Talking with your tree service is a good start, as many of them know local sawyers. You can also check out the Iowa DNR website for resources.
We've got a sawmill directory on our website. Luckily, the Iowa City Coralville area has several sawmills they can go to see if that wood can be processed.
Sometimes taking down a tree is planned out in advance, but more often than not, it comes as a surprise. That was the case for John Van Hukelum and his family when the derecho hit in August of 2020.
You know, we knew a storm was coming, but we were literally standing right here, kind of watching our trampoline blow between yards, and then all of a sudden we just heard a crash. And my youngest daughter started laughing because insulation was falling down on top of me and she thought it was snowing in the house.
The family rushed down to the basement until the storm had passed. What they came up to was a shock to everyone.
There was about an 8-foot hole right above where we're sitting now, and 2 of our big cherry trees in the backyard had come down into the house.
Like everyone else, they were focused on fixing their house, But during the process, their general contractor saw the potential of the trees.
He said, well, don't let anybody just take them and chip them up. He said they were valuable trees. And that's kind of when we got thinking, well, maybe we should do something with these.
The contractor brought the trees out to Paul, who milled the black cherry wood into planks. From there, John found a local custom woodworker, Krafka Crafts, to create this stunning dining room table and chairs.
It was great that we were able to take something that wasn't great and turn it into something positive.
If you're lucky, you'll never be in the situation of having a tree crash through your roof. But there's another important way you can support urban lumber. Shop local.
I'm seeing people that I've never seen before come in and say, hey, do you have this urban lumber? Or I hear you've got cut hardwood for sale. And so it's bringing people through, and it's pretty awesome.
The Habitat for Humanity here in Iowa City has a big display of local lumber.
The urban lumber is given as much time as possible to grow. So the grain patterns are tighter, the hardwoods are harder, the softwoods are harder because they've been given the opportunity to grow with the seasons over a great span of time instead of, being rushed or forced as a timber company might do.
When it comes to buying lumber, what you get at the big box stores is often coming from across the country or even outside of the U.S.
Why import more wood from outside of Iowa when we've got it growing right here within our communities? I just don't think a lot of people realize that wood can be made out of the trees that grow right here in our communities.
Just like with food, lumber bought locally is often better quality and more cost effective.
More reasonably priced here than anywhere else, and the material is superior.
It should be noted that urban lumber is not graded for structural use. It's popular among woodworkers for things like cabinetry, furniture, flooring, and interior finishes. To spark the growth of recycled wood, local municipal governments are getting involved as well.
So when we have to take a tree down, such as right now we have a lot of derecho damaged trees that we're still removing, or EAB trees in our ashes. So that type of wood, we stockpile it at one of our locations, our stockyards on the south side of town. We contact a local sawmill to come and pick them up, and then he takes them and then saws them into whatever lengths we want, and he'll kiln dry them for us.
These are the trees that make up our parks and run along the right of way.
A lot of lumber that we utilize is just the trees we see within a park could be the same within the timber it's being harvested. So there's no reason for us just to throw them away. There is a value to them.
Iowa City will use the lumber to make benches, picnic tables, birdhouses, and even a boardwalk.
This is very important to me because this is the least we can do to put a value on the tree that was there.
The city of Coralville recently utilized some trees damaged in the derecho, which are naturally rot resistant, for an outdoor project.
They had a few oak trees and hickory trees that died on their green belt. And so the traditional idea of just cutting the trees down, letting them maybe decompose on site, was changed to divert those logs to a sawmill, got them milled up. Those boards are being returned to the green belt to build a boardwalk.
By supporting urban lumber, we can help boost the local economy, reduce our carbon footprint, and get the most out of the trees in our community.
The wood that I've seen at Coffrin and through Restore, it's stunning. So if people are crafty, if they want to get into doing woodwork, it's beautiful lumber, and it's local, and it's not going into the landfill or into our wood chip process. So I think there's some really cool kind of synergies and opportunities through this program.
We're trying to reduce that fossil fuel footprint by using resources that are already within our community, and instead of wasting them, utilize them whenever possible.
As you look around in here, all this came within a 30-mile area, and it would have been mulch. So there's thousands and millions of board feet that are just wasted because people don't take the time to think or take that next step, which is so easy to do. Get something great out of it instead of just throwing it away.
Finding new, creative ways to combat climate change is going to be key if we're going to reach our greenhouse gas emission goals. With a little help from the city, Big Grove Brewery has added innovative technology in its brewing process. Here's how it works.
Being a responsible member of the community, we want to do everything that we can to reduce our use of resources and try and become more and more sustainable. I mean, we have a long-term goal of being 100% sustainable.
There's no one solution that's going to be the thing that gets us over the finish line. We actually need a whole bundle of solutions. I think this is an exciting project because it just represents one more tool that we didn't have before, that we now do, that's going to help us get to those net zero emissions.
It's just a home run project. It's good economically, it's great for the environment, it's better for our staff, it's better for our beer. I mean, why wouldn't you want to carbonate your beer with beer CO2, right? I mean, it just makes sense. So this is by far the largest investment we've made in our sustainability practice.
Big component of beer is we're extracting sugar out of grain, and then we're adding yeast to consume that sugar, and a major byproduct of that process is CO2 output. So throughout all of our active fermentation, we're getting a lot of CO2 that's being blown out of the tank.
You're gonna see the bucket on the ground with water in it, and it's just bubbling like crazy, right? What's bubbling up is CO2. What we did with the system is that we bought all of this tubing and all these connection points so that when now that's happening, we're connecting right into a hose that now leads back up to the ceiling and travels over to our CO2 recapture system. So then that machine processes the CO2 coming out of the tank. Rather than the tank just sitting there on the ground bubbling, we're sending it right back into the machine to repurpose it.
One of the things we know that Iowa City residents are really excited about and really great at is recycling. And of course we understand recycling for paper and aluminum and glass, but this really represents a kind of recycling that we don't often think about, you know, the kind of carbon dioxide that's coming off the brewing process that could be captured and then used for other things. So really, when you think about it, it's actually an exciting extension of our recycling efforts.
I mean, CO2 recapture is kind of low-hanging fruit, if you will, as far as when you look at the brewing process, it's fairly obvious. You see you're having these fermentations that are taking place every day. You get so much CO2 that's being vented out of tanks, and then you turn around and downstream, kind of post-fermentation, we're buying a bunch of industrial CO2 to finish the process, to carbonate the beer, to move it from tank to tank, to put it in a package. And so, you know, Earthly Labs has scaled down the technology for a smaller brewery like us to recapture that fermentation CO2.
It's all happening in the building, and it's a product that we need everlasting. We move all of our product around with CO2, we fill cans with CO2. I mean, just think of like it's a non-stop thing, and this machine, instead of us just evacuating that into the air or sending it off in the atmosphere, now we're gonna capture, clean, condense, and put back to use.
The big way it ends up cutting down on emissions is that this carbon dioxide that had been previously used has been shipped in from the central Illinois region, right? And that comes on heavy trucks that use a lot of diesel fuel transporting it here. And those shipments come twice a week. Now, twice a week, those trucks aren't going to be driving all that distance. That really cuts down on the transportation emissions associated with this production process.
As I started to learn about the technology and got the chance to talk about it with my fellow employees, everybody was so excited that we could go from, you know, buying bulk CO2 from industrial sources to, you know, reducing our carbon footprint by as much as 100,000 pounds and using a byproduct of our fermentation as an ingredient. It fit together so well, and we're really excited to pursue it.
So I talk about the loop, but it's really that simple. It comes out of the beer tank while we're in active fermentation, gets processed by the machine. The machine then kicks it into a storage tank, and then from the storage tank we put it right back into the system. So it's pretty incredible.
We are always looking for these kinds of opportunities that whenever a business or a resident or a nonprofit has an exciting idea, something they're excited about that they think might work to bring down emissions, we are always open to having that conversation and looking for ways we can partner on it. You know, we don't know what the next carbon recycling system is that's out there, but maybe someone listening to this video does, and if so, reach out to us. We want to talk about it. We're all in this together.
It's really easy to say you want to be a leader. It's another thing to put money behind it and resources and people behind it. That's what the city's doing right now. I think we should all be proud. We should all celebrate what Iowa City's doing, and hopefully more communities take notice and start putting these type of programs in place for their communities, because we couldn't have done this without the assistance from the city, because it's an expensive endeavor. So we're very thankful.
Housing is a human right, and our city staff works hand in hand with community organizations to provide safe, affordable housing options. One nonprofit is essential for the city to be able to receive and distribute federal dollars in order to provide that service.
Affordable rental housing is a very big problem in Johnson County. Families being able to find safe, decent housing that is affordable and meets their family's needs.
It was really, really hard. I was actually born and raised here in Iowa City, and so I've kind of seen the changes with what that looks like based on affordability.
I'm the director of the Housing Fellowship. Organization's about 30 years old. Our mission is to make permanent rental housing as affordable as possible for families of limited incomes. We're basically a typical landlord, although we have different funding sources than most for-profit landlords. A number of our projects, if not most of our projects, are funded in part through federal dollars that flow through the city of Iowa City.
The city and the Housing Fellowship are longtime partners in providing affordable housing in the community. The city provides grants and loans to the Housing Fellowship so that they can complete affordable housing projects where they increase the supply of affordable housing. The city receives CDBG and home funds annually, and we allocate those funding dollars to local agencies who are able to carry out projects for affordable housing or other projects that serve low-income residents. Most commonly, we do this through the Home Investment Partnerships funding. The city receives that annually through HUD, and the Housing Fellowship is a community housing development organization, or CHODO, so they're a critical component of the home funding that the city receives.
Without that funding, especially early on in our organization's existence, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish what we've accomplished. We own 213 units throughout Johnson County. The lion's share of those are single-family homes, duplexes, townhomes. We do own 2 apartment buildings as well, a 33-unit building downtown and a 12-unit building on the east side of town. Most of our units are income qualified units, so a household's income is capped at a given amount, and that varies by apartment.
This was a completely rehabilitized home, and so I went from being in a 2-bedroom apartment, paying more actually than what I pay now for a full home. Growing up, actually, my mother was in the Housing Fellowship program, so I learned about it through that, and I remembered how much of a resource and how helpful it was to my family growing up. And so when it was my turn and I started raising my own family, I was trying to do it in a way that could work the best for me. I have been able to prioritize other important things in my family unit as far as extracurricular activities for my boys and things that they want to do.
We're interacting with a tenant, say, that is struggling to pay rent, or an applicant that's struggling to find housing, and we're able to either access funds to waive or lower their rent, or find housing for a family that is in pretty dire need of housing pretty quickly. When we're able to figure that out for a family, it's absolutely rewarding for all of our staff.
The Housing Fellowship is one of our most experienced affordable housing providers in the community. Because they're a mission-driven nonprofit, we know that the housing will remain affordable in the long term and that they'll continue to be an important component of Iowa City's ongoing affordable housing efforts.
It's just been really beneficial to have our first home as a small family and to be able to afford it and not feel stressed out about all of the things that come with being a first-time home renter. We've been here a few months and it seems like we've been here longer in a way because we just settled in immediately, and it's been very comforting.
That's all for this episode. We'll see you next time on Iowa City in Focus.